Almost 2 centuries before the events of Game of Thrones, House Targaryen was at its peak. Nothing could tear it down, except itself. That's where HBO's House of the Dragon comes in. It brings back all the intrigue, drama, and violence of the original series, and puts real characters and stories behind events that previously you could only read about in Fire and Blood. A book that was written not as a novel, but as a scholarly account of House Targaryen history. In this video, I'll recap all the events of Season 1 in case you need a reminder before Season 2, or just need some clarification. Now, there are a few things that are helpful to know before the story begins. Throughout House of the Dragon's first season, Viserys, a student of history, has a model built of Valyria. So what is Valyria? It was the capital city of the Valyrian Freehold, an advanced civilization that ruled most of Essos, the continent east of Westeros. Part of why they were so powerful was because they had dragons, and there are different theories on how they got them. Most commonly, it is said that dragons were discovered in the 14 Flames, a ring of volcanoes. The Valyrian Freehold stood for close to 5,000 years, until the Doom of Valyria, when the capital was destroyed. Again, there are different theories, but the common explanation is that the 14 Flames erupted. In House of the Dragon, Viserys places great importance on dreams, and that goes back a long time. In fact, the Targaryens owe their continued existence to dreams, because 12 years before the Doom, Daenerys Targaryen had dreams and visions of Valyria's fall. She warned her father Aenar, and on her warnings, he moved their family to Dragonstone, and because of that, were able to survive. These prophetic dreams and visions came to be known as dragon dreams, something other Targaryens also experienced throughout the generations. House Velaryon also survived the Doom because they had already settled in Driftmark. That's the house Corlys belongs to, and it's why he, like the Targaryens, have their distinct white Valyrian hair. Any artifacts that survived the Doom are held in great reverence, like the dagger that was wielded by Aegon the Conqueror, the one Viserys shares with Rhaenyra, and without spoiling Game of Thrones, it plays a significant role in that series too. Speaking of Aegon the Conqueror, who was that guy? Well, about a century after the Doom, Aegon Targaryen was the Lord of Dragonstone, and using their dragons, he conquered Westeros. This was important because before him, the continent consisted of 7 independent kingdoms. Under him, they were united. King's Landing was built up as the capital, where a castle named the Red Keep was built, and in it, they forged the Iron Throne. So that's where it all began. In fact, that's how history is measured in this world, AC and BC, after the conquest or before the conquest. I should note, by the way, technically he only conquered 6 kingdoms because Dorne held out until a couple of centuries later when it joined peacefully through marriage. House of the Dragon begins in 101 AC, about a century after Aegon's conquest. Now you're ready for the recap. But first, a quick word from our sponsor. Eat stress-free this summer with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals. Every fresh, never-frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. Choose from a weekly menu of 35 options, including popular ones like Calorie Smart, Keto, Protein Plus, or Vegan and Veggie. For me, it's Protein Plus because I've been trying to bulk up recently. When things get hectic, Factor is flexible. You can change your order up every week with plans from 4 to 18 meals per week, or pause or reschedule your deliveries anytime. The meals are individually packaged and super easy to prep. I should also mention they're delicious. For me, best of all is the time they save. Less time grocery shopping and meal prepping means more time making videos. Head to Factor75.com or click the link below and use code ONETAKE50 to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. That's code ONETAKE50 at Factor75.com to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month of orders. Now, back to the recap. This story begins just after the first century of the Targaryen dynasty comes to a close. After 6 decades of peace and prosperity, King Jaehaerys has fallen ill and must choose his successor. With both his sons claimed by tragedy, it falls to either Princess Rhaenys Targaryen, his eldest descendant, or her younger cousin, Prince Viserys Targaryen, the eldest male descendant. In keeping with tradition, the male is chosen, and Rhaenys becomes known as the Queen Who Never Was. Viserys proves a fine king when circumstances are favorable and no challenge is present. Considering neither is true for long in Westeros, his reign is due for a reckoning, and 9 years into his rule, trouble brews. For one, there's the question of his successor. He has a daughter, Rhaenyra, but no sons. Viserys, however, knows his luck is about to change, because he had a dream foretelling his pregnant wife Aemma birthing a son. He's even prematurely arranged for a great tournament in the boy's honor, hoping he's born by the game's end. And while his hopes hang on this unborn child, other troubles go unnoticed or ignored. There's the Triarchy, an alliance of the free cities threatening their ports. Lord Corlys, master of ships and husband of Viserys' cousin Rhaenys, warns of the threat, but the king is unconcerned. There's the infected wound on his back. Viserys chalks it up to a nick from a sharp edge of the Iron Throne, but it is odd how, rather than heal, the wound grows. There's also the king's brother, Prince Daemon, who covets the throne and routinely acts out. As head of the City Watch, he spreads wanton violence in the name of quelling the criminal element. He mocks the hand of the king, Otto Hightower, who recently lost a wife. And he does all this with no punishment other than stern words from his older brother. Beyond all this, he neglects a wife that he despises, while harboring feelings for his own niece, the king's daughter, Princess Rhaenyra. And she looks up to Daemon, as she too is a rebel, preferring to fight in a battlefield over being a wife, offering her royal womb. Unfortunately, she has little say in the matter, but takes solace with a close friend, Alicent Hightower, Otto's daughter. Though at age 14, both are blissfully unaware of how Westeros can turn the closest of friends into bitter enemies. As the Heirs tournament approaches, Queen Aemma has a difficult conversation with the king. She reminds him of their previous attempts to birth an heir. Between miscarriages, stillbirths, and one they lost in the cradle, she has mourned 5 dead children. Boy or girl, she promises this time will be her last. But Viserys isn't worried. He had that dream. The tournament begins, and so do the queen's laborers. Viserys is in high spirits until Grand Maester Mellis delivers the bad news. A choice. Aemma will not survive. But if they cut open her womb, there is a chance the baby lives. Viserys abides by his prophetic dream. Queen Aemma dies screaming in pain, and at a tragic price, a son is born. The Grand Maester congratulates Viserys on his new heir, and the king shares the name they chose, Balon. It's then he hears the infants choking. Soon after, Viserys watches his wife and son burn in the flame of dragon's breath, a customary Targaryen funeral. In his grief, he is despondent, but the realm needs him to name an heir. His closest male relative is Daemon, violent and unpredictable. Or there is his firstborn child, the only one who survived, Rhaenyra. She would be the first queen to sit on the Iron Throne, an invitation for instability. The small council presses for an answer, and Viserys responds by storming off to sit with his grief. But in this tragedy, others see opportunity. Otto Hightower sends a raven to Old Town and sends his daughter Alicent to the king to offer him comfort. Otto suggests she wear one of her mother's dresses. That night, Daemon makes a toast to Balon, styling him the heir for a day. The evening of prostitutes and drinking is a thinly veiled celebration that he is once again the uncontested heir. It's an act demanding decisive punishment, and the king gives him some stern words. Daemon responds in kind, proclaiming that as his brother, he should be hand of the king, not Otto. He would protect Viserys from himself. himself, who is too weak to see that Otto and the council take advantage of him for their own power. Viserys orders him to return to his wife at Runestone and announces he has selected an heir. Daemon leaves, and Viserys receives another cut from the throne, this one on his pinky. Then he finally lays to rest the matter of succession. He meets with Rhaenyra and apologizes for wasting all this time wanting for a son. He tells her that she will be his heir, she will be queen, and he tells her of a long-held secret. Aegon did not conquer Westeros and unite the Seven Kingdoms for ambition alone, but also because he had a dream. He foresaw the end of the world preceded by a terrible winter. When that great winter comes, all of Westeros will have to stand against it, and a Targaryen must sit on the throne. He called this dream the Song of Ice and Fire. In the days that follow, nobles of the Seven Kingdoms pledge their fealty to Princess Rhaenyra Targaryen, heir to the throne. 6 months later, House Targaryen finds itself in a vulnerable position. Viserys named a girl as heir, and his own brother Daemon has seized Dragonstone after turning the City Watch into his personal army. With the house appearing weak, the Triarchy grows bold, attacking their ships in the Stepstones. Lord Corlys, the Sea Snake, insists they attack, but Viserys fears war with the Free Cities. As for Daemon, Rhaenyra suggests they send dragons as a show of force. Viserys ignores the childish suggestion, and Otto has her busied with another task, selecting a new Kingsguard to replace one who died. She is disappointed by the options. In the years of peace, most have never seen battle, except one, Sir Criston Cole. Otto suggests she consider knights from other houses for their strategic value, but she insists on Cole, who also impressed her 6 months ago at the Heirs tournament. Viserys, meanwhile, receives a marriage proposal. Corlys and Rhaenys Velaryon suggest he marry their 12-year-old daughter Laena. It would unite the two great surviving Valyrian houses, and between the Targaryens' dragons and the Velaryons' ships, it would re-secure their strength. The king seeks advice from his hand and Grand Maester, while they treat some rot in his pinky. As maggots feast on his necrotic flesh, Melis endorses the marriage. Otto agrees, but notes he does not envy the king having to marry for duty. It's a subtle manipulation, feeding the king's desire to marry for love rather than duty, specifically love for Otto's daughter Alicent, who the king has been falling for ever since Otto sent her to provide comfort, while Viserys was at his lowest after losing his wife and son. Rhaenyra, meanwhile, after choosing a new guard, begins to feel she has a say in the realm. So Rhaenys offers words of discouragement, assuring that a queen will never sit on the throne. Her father will remarry, have a son, and he will be the new heir. That is the order of things. Rhaenyra declares she will change the order. Her uncle Daemon also challenges the order, announcing he's decided to take a second wife, his mistress Mysaria, who runs his brothel of choice. He sends Viserys an invite to the wedding, and as a further taunt, announces she is pregnant, and in the baby's crib he will place a dragon egg in the Targaryen tradition, the same egg that was intended for Baelon, which Daemon has already stolen. Otto heads to Dragonstone to retrieve it, and violence threatens to erupt when Daemon's dragon appears. But bloodshed is avoided when Rhaenyra arrives on her own dragon. She dares her uncle to kill her and assume his place as heir, but of course he does not, and instead returns the egg. Back in their castle, Mysaria confronts Daemon for his lies meant to provoke his brother. In truth, she is not pregnant, nor are they engaged. Such provocation could put her in danger, but Daemon promises to protect her. At King's Landing, Viserys seeks yet another opinion on the potential marriage to Laena, this time from Lionel Strong, Master of Laws, who also endorses the marriage and fears the consequences of rejecting it. Corlys would be unsatisfied without a direct line to the throne, and if war erupts in the Stepstones, they will need his ships. Viserys should secure him as an ally by marrying his daughter. When Rhaenyra returns, she is met with stern words from her father about her unannounced trip to Dragonstone, but ultimately, she did retrieve the egg without bloodshed, something no one else could do. Then they talk about their grief, her mother, his wife, and the obligation to wed another. But, he assures, he knows he cannot replace her mother, nor will he replace Rhaenyra as heir. The next day, he announces the one he's chosen to marry, his daughter's closest friend, Alicent Hightower. Otto smiles. Lord Corlys announces his dissatisfaction, then quietly seeks an ally in Daemon. He suggests they go behind the king's back to wage war on the Triarchy together for mutual benefit. Daemon would prove his worth, and Lord Corlys would protect his ports at Driftmark. Over the next 3 years, Daemon and Corlys wage war in the Stepstones, something Viserys continues to ignore in favor of today's celebration, the second name day of his and Alicent's son, Aegon, and she has another child on the way. But not all is well for the king. His marriage to Alicent has alienated them both from Rhaenyra. Things are further strained as the realm expects Viserys to name Aegon as heir any day. And that is not where the expectations end. At age 17, Rhaenyra is now supposed to marry. Viserys chooses Jason Lannister. She refuses, and her father is displeased. She must marry. She cannot escape obligation any more than he can. As the royal hunt begins, Rhaenyra rides off to be alone, until her sworn shield, Sir Criston Cole, catches up and cheers her up. She feels powerless, so he reminds her of her power. By selecting him as Kingsguard, she granted him the highest honor a Cole has ever known. While Rhaenyra feels suffocated by expectations of the realm, so does Viserys. He is trapped. Keep Rhaenyra as heir and send the realm into chaos, or name Aegon and become estranged from his daughter. In the face of this dilemma, he quiets his stress with wine, until Lionel Strong offers a solution. He once suggested Viserys marry the Sea Snake's daughter. That ship has sailed, but instead Viserys could have Rhaenyra marry the Sea Snake's son, Sir Laenor. This would reunite their houses and make them strong. In the woods, Rhaenyra and Cole are visited by a dangerous wild boar. He attacks it, though she delivers the killing blows, letting out some of her rage. And at camp, Viserys lets out some of his doubt and remorse. He wonders to Alicent if he was wrong to name Rhaenyra his heir. He did it to protect the realm from Daemon. He did it for love. But after his prophetic dreams of a son proved false and stopped recurring, he never expected to remarry and have a son after all. The next day, the hunt. The hope is for a white hart, symbolizing royalty. But what they find and trap for the king is instead only a large stag. They hold it still and Viserys stabs. But it is not a killing blow. With some instruction, he gets it on the second try, and is met with hollow applause. As for the white hart, it visits Rhaenyra and Cole instead. He draws his sword until she tells him no, and lets the animal run off. That night, Otto visits his daughter, and tells her that Aegon, her son, must be named heir. If Rhaenyra is allowed to hold the position, the realm will tear itself apart. She must guide Viserys toward this end. She visits her husband and learns something else. Daemon and the Sea Snake are losing their war in the Stepstones. They need help, but if Viserys provides it, he will be rewarding 2 malcontents who started a war against his wishes. But Alicent asks a simple question. Would the realm be better off if the Triarchy is stopped? And so Viserys agrees to send aid. One matter is resolved, and soon so is another. Rhaenyra confronts her father. She accuses him of intending to replace her as heir with his son Aegon, but he denies it. He may have wavered on it once, but he assures her that she will not be supplanted. And yes, she must marry, but just as he chose his own wife, he will allow her to choose her husband. At the Stepstones, Daemon becomes a hero. They have been losing the war, as the Triarchy and their leader, the Crabfeeder, hide in caves, protecting them from dragonfire. They receive word that Viserys is sending help. Insulted by the offer, Daemon beats the messenger near to death, then steps onto the battlefield alone. As bait to draw out their enemy, he waves a white flag and offers his sword as the Crabfeeder's men approach. Only then does he show his strength, evading arrows and killing a path toward the Crabfeeder. Soon he is surrounded by enemies, but now they are in the open. They burn in dragonfire. As the battle is fought, Daemon enters the cave and walks out with the Crabfeeder's remains. 1 year later, Rhaenyra continues rejecting every suitor suggested by her father and returns home without a husband, just in time to witness Daemon's return. Upon smashing the Triarchy, he has been dubbed King of the Narrow Sea. The room is tense, as all wonder if Daemon is here to challenge the king. When he bows before his brother, tensions turn to festivities, where Rhaenyra and Alicent have a rare chance to speak. It's a great solace to Alicent, who has been feeling more isolated since becoming queen. Rhaenyra also speaks with Daemon, who offers advice. She need not fear marriage. It's simply a political arrangement that does not limit your freedom. In fact, he hates his own wife and continues seeking pleasure elsewhere. That night, Daemon proves it. He lends her common clothes to disguise her royalty and sneaks her out of the Red Keep onto the streets of King's Landing. Together, they enjoy the nightlife, including some theater, a play satirizing the king's fumbled succession. The crowd makes it clear they see Alicent's firstborn son Aegon as the obvious heir over her. But Daemon helps her forget these politics, and finally brings her to the brothel. He told her about the pleasures that can be enjoyed outside marriage, and now he shows her. They kiss. They begin to do more, and as Rhaenyra enjoys her freedom, Alicent performs her duties when Viserys requests the company of his queen. She complies as a passive participant, while Daemon and Rhaenyra at the brothel make for a more enthusiastic pairing, until a sudden shift in mood. Daemon puts Rhaenyra against a wall, but when she turns around, responding to his lustful aggression with her own, he stops himself and leaves her alone. She returns home, but is only alone until she seduces a reluctant Criston Cole. Meanwhile, Otto receives a message from the White Worm, Mysaria's new pseudonym. Retired from the business of pleasure, she now deals in the more lucrative business of information. She has eyes all over, and earlier that night, a couple of those eyes saw Daemon and Rhaenyra. Come morning, Otto brings the discomforting news to Viserys of his brother and daughter in the bowels of a pleasure den. Viserys accuses him of lying, tearing down Rhaenyra to make his grandson Aegon a more attractive choice as heir. Alicent overhears it all and confronts Rhaenyra, who admits to a night of drinking with Daemon, but nothing more. As for Daemon, his hangover is soon the least of his problems when he's dragged in front of the king. Viserys demands answers. Daemon does not deny the charge. Instead, he asks the king for his daughter's hand in marriage. And suddenly, it makes sense to Viserys. Daemon lusts not for his daughter, but for the throne. Once again, he sends him back to the Vale, to his lawful wife. When Viserys speaks with Alicent, she defends her friend. Rhaenyra swore she remains a maiden, and Alicent believes her. Finally, Viserys speaks to Rhaenyra himself. He shows her an ancient dagger made of Valyrian steel, possessed by many generations of the Targaryen line, including Aegon the Conqueror, who inscribed on it his prophecy of the prince that was promised, and the Song of Ice and Fire. This is her responsibility, but last night she put her desires first. Now he has decided her courtship is at an end. She will marry Sir Laenor Velaryon, son of Lord Corlys. Ever since Viserys rejected his daughter's hand in marriage, the Sea Snake has held a grudge. Recently, he's even begun negotiating an alliance with the Free Cities. However, if Rhaenyra marries Laenor, it would finally salve the wound. Rhaenyra agrees on the condition he fire Otto as Hand of the King. She knows Otto cannot be trusted. He will stop at nothing to see Aegon take the throne, even at her expense. Now, Viserys sees it. His father Balon was hand to King Jaehaerys, until he died suddenly and Otto took his place. Was that luck or design? And when Viserys lost Aemma, Otto sent his daughter Alicent to comfort him. A calculated move. So he removes Otto from his post. And there is one more matter to settle. He sends the Grand Maester to Rhaenyra with a special tea, to rid her of any unwanted consequences. As ordered by Viserys, Daemon returns to the Vale, but he isn't there to reunite with his wife, Rhea Royce. He is there to kill her. She's paralyzed after he startles her horse, knocking her off it. He turns as though to leave, and she accuses him of cowardice. She knew he couldn't finish. So he picks up a heavy stone and walks toward her. At King's Landing, Alicent is sorry to see her father go, but Otto reminds her it is her fault. He brought word to Viserys of Rhaenyra and Daemon at the brothel. When Rhaenyra denied it, Alicent sided with her over Otto. She has to be smarter than this. One day Viserys will die. If Rhaenyra succeeds him, the realm won't accept it, and war will follow. To secure her claim, Rhaenyra will have no choice but to kill Alicent's children. Otto tells her that the time is coming. Alicent must prepare her son Aegon to rule, or cleave to Rhaenyra and pray for her mercy. With Otto gone, a new Hand of the King is named, Lionel Strong. His son Larys, meanwhile, visits Alicent, and slyly mentions how Rhaenyra must be unwell. After all, he saw the Grand Maester himself bring her that tea. It's unspoken, but his eyes say the rest. Rhaenyra lied to you. Otherwise, she would not have required a tea which prevents pregnancy. On Driftmark, Viserys visits Lord Corlys to propose the marriage between his daughter and Corlys's son Laenor. It is agreed, and the two betrothed get to know each other. They agree on an open marriage, fulfill the political arrangement, while both continue to see other men, a proclivity Corlys hopes his son will soon grow out of. Rhaenys only hopes he survives what's coming. With Aegon out there, Rhaenyra's succession will be challenged. Knives will come out for her, her husband, and their heirs. And why does Corlys so want their bloodline on the throne? Justice, he claims. She should have been queen, but, she assures, she herself has put it behind her. Back on their ship, Criston approaches Rhaenyra and proposes they run away together, marry for love, not duty. She, however, intends to stay. She will marry Laenor, but, she offers, they can still see each other on the side. Criston scoffs at that. He broke his oath of chastity as a knight. Marrying Rhaenyra might restore some of that honor, but she refuses to escape her responsibility as the future queen. Criston storms off. On their return, Alicent summons him to ask if he witnessed anything between Rhaenyra and Daemon. But she speaks in implications, and his guilty mind assumes they are about him. So he confesses and begs her mercy. For now, she lets him go. Viserys, meanwhile, is treated with leeches. Upon returning to King's Landing, he collapsed. His health has been deteriorating. The cut on his pinky became infected. The infection spread, so a couple of fingers were amputated. Yet it has continued to spread, covering much of his arm. His back has more sores, too. Before medicine puts him to sleep, he wonders about his legacy. He led over peace with no great victories or defeats. How will he be remembered? And if truly tested, would he have risen to the challenge as a great king? The welcome feast before the royal wedding is grand. but tense. Alicent is upset with Viserys and Rhaenyra for the lies which got her father expelled as Hand. She arrives late in the middle of the king's speech, wearing green, a not-so-subtle statement, because in House Hightower they light a green flame when calling their bannermen to war. Everyone is surprised when Daemon returns from exile, but especially spiteful is Gerald, the cousin of Daemon's late wife, Rhea. He accuses Daemon of murder, but Daemon only speaks of inheritance. She is dead, and they had no heirs. So, Runestone will soon belong to him. And freshly single, Daemon catches the eye of the sea snake's daughter, Laena. From the sidelines, Laenor and his lover Joffrey observe the room and deduce Criston Cole must be the one Rhaenyra has in mind for her extramarital affairs. Joffrey playfully insinuates as much to Criston, but has no idea the wound he's opened up. As the night beats him to death, the feast devolves into commotion. Lionel gestures for his son Harwin to help Rhaenyra out, and with brute strength he clears a path. Viserys watches the chaos, and his nose bleeds, due to stress, whatever ailment caused him to collapse earlier, or some combination of the two. Later that night, Criston prepares to take his own life, until Alicent stops him, and in private, the marriage ceremony is solemnly completed. Once the vows are said, Viserys collapses again. 10 years later, Rhaenyra and Laenor continue to abide by their arrangement, maintaining the facade of marriage while enjoying their affairs. But this may soon have consequences. Rhaenyra's two sons bear a striking resemblance to the commander of the City Watch, the man who rescued Rhaenyra during the wedding brawl, Harwin Strong. The children's true father is obvious to anyone with eyes, but they are protected by the willful blindness of one man, Viserys Targaryen. When Alicent calls the parentage of Rhaenyra's children into question, he refuses to believe and forbids her to speak of it. The king is tired. He is a little weaker, his left arm has been partly amputated to stop the rot, and he continues to fail in his quest to make everyone happy. And perhaps now it is impossible. On one end there is Rhaenyra, heir to the throne, with 2 sons and now a third just born. As long as they live, Alicent knows her family is at risk, especially Aegon. The boy has little ambition, least of all for the throne, but Alicent assures him it doesn't matter. His mere existence is a challenge to Rhaenyra's succession. This tension has turned the fracture in Rhaenyra and Alicent's friendship into an insurmountable chasm, a chasm which rears its head at every turn. The moment Rhaenyra delivers her 3rd son, whom Laenor decides to name Joffrey after the man he lost at the wedding, Alicent demands to see the baby at once, and Rhaenyra, to return spite with spite, insists on bringing him over herself. She trudges across the castle, despite the lingering pain and exhaustion of labor, leaving a trail of blood behind her. As for the children, they are yet to fully align themselves against each other in the battle between Rhaenyra and Alicent, but they do have their own problems. There aren't enough dragons to go around, so Alicent's son Aemond is yet to have one assigned, something the other children enjoy teasing him about, though his strange sister Helaena assures he will have one someday, but he'll have to close an eye. On the training yard, the bad blood between parents comes for the children. The one who instructs them is Criston Cole, and he still harbors resentment for Rhaenyra, something spurred on by Alicent. And when Harwin notices bias toward Rhaenyra's children, who the realm is not supposed to know are his children, he lashes out. When Criston insinuates their true parentage, Harwin reacts violently, something which puts his family at great risk, challenging the flimsy shield that's protected them, Viserys' willful blindness that makes it forbidden to speak the truth. At the next council meeting, Rhaenyra attempts to ensure their well-being with a marriage proposal between her eldest son Jace and Alicent's daughter Helaena. When he inherits the throne, it would be shared between families, finally restoring trust between them. Alicent refuses. She knows that this is a desperate move by Rhaenyra to protect herself, now that her secret is almost out in the open. Lionel Strong moves to protect his own family. He attempts to resign as Hand, as the swirling rumors make it impossible for him to act impartially. Viserys does not accept his resignation, but he does allow Lionel to bring his son back to Harrenhal, their family castle, for protection. Later, Alicent meets with someone she's been having private dinners with, Lionel's other son, Larys. She bemoans that things would be so much better if her father Otto were still Hand. He would be on her side. Larys takes the idea and runs with it, arranging for 3 condemned men to become his assassins. And at Harrenhal, they burn Lionel and his son Harwin alive. When Alicent hears of it, she tells Larys that she did not wish for this. He ignores her guilt and only assures he feels certain she will reward him when the time is right. Meanwhile, Daemon and Laena, now married, have been living quietly in the free city of Pentos. They have 2 daughters and a 3rd child on the way. He seems content to live the rest of their days here, away from the politicking in Westeros. But Laena believes he and she were meant for more. During childbirth, there is difficulty, and Daemon is given the same choice his brother had: lose the mother and child, or cut her open for the off chance of saving the infant. Daemon does not make a choice, but Laena does. She stands before her dragon Vhagar and says Dracarys. The dragon hesitates. She says it again and dies in dragonfire. The Targaryen and Velaryon families gather for the funeral. It's the first time Daemon has seen Viserys in years, or his daughter Rhaenyra. At night on the beach, the uncle and niece rediscover their love for each other. But that same night, in the growing feud between Rhaenyra and Alicent, blood is drawn. It starts with Aemond. He's been hoping for a dragon to call his own, and with Laena dead, her dragon Vhagar, the oldest and largest in the realm, is available. Though it nearly gets him killed, Aemond bonds with the dragon, which draws the other children's attention. Laena's daughter Rhaena confronts him. He stole her mother's dragon, which should have been hers to claim. The children fight. Luke and Jace, Rhaenyra's sons, and Rhaena's cousins, fight alongside her. Aemond breaks Luke's nose and calls them bastards, telling Jace for the first time who his real father is. The boy draws a knife, but Aemond knocks him down, then approaches with a large stone, until Jace throws sand in his face, and Luke follows by slicing his left eye with that knife. The royal household is tense after that. Aemond's flesh will heal, but the eye is gone, and Alicent demands retribution. She wants an eye from one of Rhaenyra's children, and Rhaenyra too is unhappy. She is angry and frightened as the obvious truth of her children's father threatens to emerge. The king Viserys demands the families make apologies. Let the matter be settled, and should anyone spread rumors about Rhaenyra's children, he will have their tongues removed. But Alicent can't abide by it. She attacks and cuts Rhaenyra's arm with the Valyrian dagger that once belonged to Aegon the Conqueror. And while Alicent is shaken and angry, her son Aemond is calm. He assures her it was a fair trade. An eye for a dragon, something Helaena predicted when she muttered that Aemond would have to close an eye to claim a dragon. Some Targaryens have had prophetic visions known as dragon dreams. It seems she may have inherited the trait. Afterward, Alicent is upset with herself for the outburst, but her father, reinstated as Hand after Lionel's death, feels differently. He is impressed with this side of her, and now thinks maybe she does have what it takes to win this ugly game they play. Rhaenyra, meanwhile, sees a way to strengthen her family while also fulfilling her long-held love for Daemon. With his wife dead, he is free to remarry. If Laenor were dead too, then Rhaenyra and Daemon, 2 Targaryens, could finally marry and further strengthen her succession claim. By killing a guard and burning him beyond recognition, they fake Laenor's death. freeing him to run away with Carl, the man he loves, and Rhaenyra to marry her uncle. The realm will wonder and whisper if she and Daemon arranged it, if they plotted to murder Laenor. And this is good, Daemon assures her. Rhaenyra does not want to rule through terror, but if people fear what she and Daemon are capable of, it'll only make them stronger. Finally, Rhaenyra and Daemon marry in a small ceremony. 6 years later, King Viserys is in his last days. The rot has spread and even taken one of his eyes. Milk of the poppy quiets the pain, along with everything else. His mind is cloudy, making Queen Alicent and her father Otto de facto rulers in his stead. They haven't seen Rhaenyra in all that time, but circumstances soon call her to King's Landing. The Triarchy resurfaced in the Stepstones, and Lord Corlys was badly wounded in battle. He is on his way back, but is unlikely to survive his wounds. And if he dies, Driftmark will be inherited by his named successor, Rhaenyra's son, Luke. This is something Corlys's brother Vaemond cannot abide. Like everyone else, he knows that Luke is not Laenor's son. He is Harwin Strong's son, which means Driftmark and its ships would be run by someone with no Valyrian blood in their veins. To Corlys, the name matters more than blood. That's what history remembers. But Vaemond feels differently. He feels that he should inherit Driftmark. For Rhaenyra, this is a problem. By Vaemond calling Luke's inheritance into question, by extension he is calling into question the true father to Rhaenyra's children. If it becomes known that Luke and Jace are the product of an affair, Jace's claim to the Iron Throne after Rhaenyra would be jeopardized. To defend that claim, she and Daemon finally bring their family back to King's Landing, including their 2 recently born sons, Aegon and Viserys. They find the place redecorated by Alicent according to her faith, the faith of the Seven, and they find the king, hardly able to think or speak. It's milk of the poppy to ease his suffering, Alicent assures. But Rhaenyra and Daemon wonder if it's just a way to keep him down so she and Otto can rule. With the king hardly conscious, he cannot help them secure Luke's claim to Driftmark. Instead, Rhaenyra tries to garner support from Rhaenys with an offer. What if Jace and Luke marry her granddaughters Baela and Rhaena? Baela would be Jace's queen when he takes the throne, and Rhaena could rule Driftmark with Luke. Rhaenys seems unmoved by the offer. That night, Rhaenyra visits her father again. She asks him if he believes in Aegon's prophecy, the Song of Ice and Fire. Viserys said it's her duty to unite the realm, but by naming her as heir, he has it divided. Through the king's delirium, however, he is unable to offer an answer. But the next day, the king refuses milk of the poppy. He accepts the suffering of his illness instead, the price for one final day of lucidity. He surprises the court when he takes the throne, something he has not done in some time, and he listens to Vaemond make his argument, why he should run Driftmark, not Luke. And Viserys listens to Rhaenys, who supports Rhaenyra after all. She reiterates that Corlys named Luke, and this should not change. Further, she announces that she will accept Rhaenyra's proposal to marry Jace and Luke to Baela and Rhaena. Vaemond does not take this well, and finally, he speaks plainly what everyone knows. He calls Rhaenyra's sons bastards. For that, Daemon cuts off most of his head. Finally, Viserys hosts a family supper, where he makes a final plea for unity. Alicent and Rhaenyra are moved. Both raise a glass to the other, and for this night at least, it seems their long-fractured friendship might be mended. In the midst of various toasts, Helaena whispers, "Beware the beast beneath the boards." Her words go unnoticed as Viserys is treated to a sight he's long wished to see. His family reconciled. Then the pain. It becomes too much to bear, and he is taken away to his chambers. With the king away, the truth is laid bare. Even if Alicent and Rhaenyra were to bury their hatred, It's too late. Their children are already poisoned by it. After various provocations between the cousins, Aemond makes a toast to Jace, Luke, and Joffrey, calling them wise, handsome, and then, with emphasis, strong. Of course, the ultimate provocation, pointing out their true father. The guards stop the children from an all-out brawl, one Aemond might be poised to win, as he's trained hard under Cole these last 6 years, and has become a truly skilled fighter. With the fighting stopped, Rhaenyra tells Alicent she will take her family back to Dragonstone, but then she will return. Both leave the dinner, hopeful that they can once again be friends. But that night, a misunderstanding threatens everything. Alicent visits Viserys, but the king, with his mind clouded, mistakes her for Rhaenyra, and he remembers what she asked. Does he believe in Aegon's dream? The king tells her that he does. He speaks of Aegon. He speaks of the prince that was promised and uniting the realm. He tells her that she is the one, and that she must do this. A misunderstanding. She hears Aegon and Prince, so of course Alicent believes he speaks of her own son, Prince Aegon. She believes the king has named her son heir, finally displacing Rhaenyra. After she leaves him, the pain returns. No more, the king pleads. My love, he whispers. And those become his final words. The following day, Alicent shares the news of her husband's dying wish. The small council moves fast. Too fast, she notices. Clearly, they've been plotting behind her back, and already have plans for her son to take the throne. The only one who objects is Lord Lyman Beesbury, Master of Coin. But Criston silences those objections by forcefully seating him, and whether intentional or not, hitting his head on the table in just the right way to kill him. And that is not where the killing will end. Otto knows full well that putting Aegon on the throne is a near guarantee of war. They must cut it off at the pass. Despite Alicent's objections, he orders Harold Westerling, Lord Commander of the Kingsguard, to visit Dragonstone to assassinate Rhaenyra and her family. Harold refuses and instead resigns from his post. Nevertheless, the council continues their preparations for the new king. They gather nobles from the other houses and demand they bend the knee for Aegon. Those who refuse are imprisoned. Those who try to leave King's Landing are killed. Because, of course, Otto cannot risk Rhaenyra finding out what they've done until the time is right. They have Rhaenys locked in her chambers, and Alicent pays her a visit personally. She hopes to win support from the queen who never was. Alicent makes her pitch. She will give Rhaenys rule over Driftmark, and allow her to pass it on to her granddaughters. Then she leaves Rhaenys alone to think it over. With their allies secured and enemies either dead or imprisoned, now all they have to do is find Aegon. Alicent did not find him in his chambers, and his sister-wife Helena has no idea where he's gone. Otto secretly dispatches the twin knights, Eric with an E and Eric with an A. Separately, Alicent sends Cole, and Aemond insists on joining. The search becomes a tour of brothels and other unsavory places that Aegon frequents, including an underground club where children are forced to fight in a ring, including some of Aegon's own children, the product of his various exploits. It only furthers Aemond's conviction that he should be king, not Aegon. Soon, one of Mysaria the White Worm's informants finds the Erics and tells them that she has Aegon. She will hand him over for a price, which she will only negotiate with Otto himself. The two meet, and Mysaria names her price. She wants the child fighting rinks to be shut down. She wants the City Watch to stop taking bribes to turn a blind eye. Otto takes the deal. Before they part, she makes it known that she is aware Otto manipulated events to put his grandson on the throne, and she could have easily killed him instead of handing him over. The Erics find him, only to discover they've been followed by Cole. While they fight over their prey, Aegon escapes, only to be captured by Aemond. They drag him back to the queen, while Eric quietly slips away, having decided Aegon is unfit to be king. Meanwhile, Alicent visits Otto with leverage. She's the one who now holds Aegon. She is sick of his manipulations that have been guiding her fate since childhood. Now they will proceed as she sees fit. They will not assassinate Rhaenyra. They will instead give her a chance and offer terms of peace. And Criston Cole will be named Lord Commander of the Kingsguard. Afterward, she meets with Larys, who tells her how the White Worm knew Viserys was dead, how she knew it was time to hide Aegon. Talia, Alicent's lady-in-waiting, is one of her spies. Of course he tells her this for a price, a glimpse of her feet while he pleasures himself. She gives the order to kill the White Worm and end her spy network. So that night, Larys has his men burn down her home. The next morning, Eric frees Rhaenys from her chambers. He cannot allow Alicent's family to commit this treachery. However, it is impossible to get her out of King's Landing while crowds of people make their way to the coronation, to be held in the only structure large enough to contain them, the Dragon Pit. At the ceremony, Otto announces the death of Viserys the Peaceful and the gift he left behind, his final wish, the selection of a male heir, Prince Aegon. With so much attention on the new king, Rhaenys slips away, only to emerge, crashing through the floor in the middle of the crowd, riding a dragon. She stares down Alicent and her son, King Aegon, but spares their lives before flying off toward Dragonstone, toward Rhaenyra and Daemon. She arrives in Dragonstone to give Rhaenyra and Daemon the news that Viserys has passed and that Aegon has been crowned before all of King's Landing. Daemon wastes no time preparing for war, counting dragons and sending ravens to secure allies. All the while, Rhaenyra goes into early labor. She bears the pain while telling her sons Luke and Jace of what has happened, and finally, she delivers a stillborn daughter. At the funeral, Eric arrives. He gives fealty to the true queen and offers her father's crown, something he took before leaving King's Landing. As the day goes on, Daemon and all the men of Rhaenyra's council prepare to wage war on the treacherous Greens. That's what people are calling them, ever since Alicent wore green to Rhaenyra's wedding, and Rhaenyra's side of this war becomes known as the Blacks, from the color of the House Targaryen sigil. As the men prepare for war, Rhaenyra shows restraint. Even when Otto himself arrives to offer terms, and Daemon insists on killing him where he stands, Rhaenyra tells him no. Instead, she listens to the offer. If she accepts Aegon as king, they can keep Dragonstone, Luke will be heir to Driftmark, and Daemon and Rhaenyra's sons will all hold places of honor at the court. Otto follows the offer by handing Rhaenyra a token of her and Alicent's friendship from years ago. He tells her that Alicent has not forgotten how close they once were. Rhaenyra promises an answer tomorrow. Afterward, her council continues to prepare for war, while she continues to show restraint. She will fight if need be, but it's her responsibility to unite the realm, and she will not start war. "The enemy have declared war," Daemon shouts. "What are you going to do about it?" Rhaenyra clears the room and reminds Daemon of their greater duty to the realm, Aegon the Conqueror's song of ice and fire. He grabs her throat and reminds her that dreams did not make them kings. Dragons did. She realizes that Viserys never told him about Aegon's dream, and Daemon leaves quietly. Meanwhile, Corlys recovers from his wounds and wakes up to find Rhaenys watching him. She admonishes him for abandoning her at her lowest point. They lost both their children, then he disappeared to seek adventures at sea. He apologizes and announces that their pursuit of the Iron Throne is at an end. They will sit out this war, siding with neither the Greens or the Blacks. But she reminds him that Jace, Luke, and Joffrey will not be safe so long as Aegon is king. They have to fight. So Corlys interrupts the Black Council with an announcement. House Velaryon will stand with them, and he announces that they defeated the Triarchy again, but this time they've properly installed defenses at the Stepstones and will hold them, meaning they can block the shipping lanes and stop all shipments with King's Landing. Then they can surround the Greens in a siege and force surrender lest King's Landing starve. They nearly have everything they need, but to complete the plan, they will also need the support of houses Arryn, Baratheon, and Stark. They could send ravens, but Jace suggests he and Luke deliver the messages themselves. Dragons are faster, and send a message unto themselves, a reminder of their power. Jace heads to Arryn and Stark, while Luke heads to the Baratheons. But he finds his is not the first dragon to arrive. Aemond is already there, and seems to have won over Lord Boros Baratheon. Rhaenyra only sent a message reminding the Lord of his father's oath, while Aemond came with a proposal to marry one of his daughters. Baratheon wants a real offer from Rhaenyra. Luke turns to leave with this message, but first Aemond demands one of his eyes. Until Baratheon stops them, he will not have bloodshed in his house. That, instead, waits for the skies. Aemond flies above Luke on the realm's largest dragon, Vhagar. He only intends to chase and intimidate the younger boy, but Luke's dragon, despite his protests, responds violently, breathing fire at the much larger dragon. And now, Aemond loses control of his dragon. Vhagar easily kills the smaller dragon, along with its rider. Daemon is the one who tells Rhaenyra what happened. And now, Queen Rhaenyra, who showed such hesitation to start war, learns it has already begun, and its first casualty was her own son, Lucerys Targaryen. That's where the story for Season 1 wraps up. I will be recapping and reviewing Season 2 every week on my podcast channel. See the link in the description or pinned comment. Or you can find the podcast Talkin' Targaryen on any podcast app. Thank you for watching, and see you on the next One Take.